The thing that people bag on Discovery for, Star Trek Discovery, I should say one of the things that's not related to the diversity of casting or the politics of the writers or anything else, right, is that to them, the Federation is always presented an idealized utopian future, right? And that the Discovery as a show it shows the Federation is not the clean utopian society that it's always supposed to have been, right? And that argument just doesn't work for a few reasons. Number one, if you watch the original series, which is set 10 years after, right? There were multiple instances of Federation citizens, Federation bureaucrats being the bad guys, right? And it happens again in The Next Generation. The Next Generation, at least the first few seasons, is supposed to be really like the most, I would say, true to Gene Roddenberry's vision, right? First two seasons of TNG is when he had the most control over what was going on, when he had the most power over what ended up on the screen, right? So TNG led into its later seasons. There's an interesting thing that a few people have noticed about The Next Generation, though. If you watch it, right, every admiral is an asshole. We rarely get treated to any admiral that isn't fucking a bad guy, right? It's one of the things that keeps popping up, and you have to wonder if there was just they only were allowed to be so anti-authoritarian, and maybe that's how they expressed it, right? But yeah, the Admiralty, always a bunch of evil pricks, right? It's like a switch gets flipped every time someone makes admiral. So Discovery's not that out of place in that. But another plot point that comes up in the Star Trek franchise over and over in more than one series and film is that there are perfectly reasonable people in Starfleet who we would otherwise look up to, who are willing to completely go against the ideals of the Federation to protect the Federation, right? It's one of the things that Section 31 was really founded on when they brought that in during the DS9 era. The whole deal with Section 31 was that, the Federation is such a great place that there needs to be an organization who can protect it, who's willing to do the things that the Federation can't or won't. Now, a lot of people have a problem with Section 31 even existing, right? Season 2 of Discovery has gone a lot more into Section 31, and I think a lot of people are sort of confused at how it's portrayed. The complaint I hear about Section 31 the most is that it's supposed to be a super secret organization and everybody knows about it. But the thing is, for one thing, we don't know for a fact that everybody knows about it, because everything is getting filtered through the point of view of Discovery, which is a top secret research vessel who works on classified experiments, who's already had black badges there, right? As far as I'm concerned with Section 31, like, the black badges thing is the thing that makes less sense to me. It would make more sense if, like, a black badge meant that you were Starfleet intelligence, and then Section 31 just operates within the auspices of Starfleet intelligence. That would make more sense to me. But as far as people knowing about their existence on this classified research vessel, let me tell you, when I worked with classified information, I knew of all sorts of organizations who weren't even doing, like, shady stuff, but they're not general knowledge. I knew about them because I had a need to know about them through the access that I had, right? And it's similar with Section 31. Section 31 is doing technology and stuff that is beyond the normal reach of the Federation. It makes sense that they've had some contact with this classified science vessel, right? that shouldn't bug people as much as it does. But the existence of Section 31 itself, that goes into something more, because that speaks to the ideals of the Federation itself, right? And that's what people have had a big problem with in Season 1 of Star Trek Discovery, is the ideals of the Federation. And the thing that gets brought up the most, more than anything else really, was that the Federation was willing to basically wipe out the population of an entire planet to end the war with the Klingons. But when you watch that, you sort of miss the whole point here. Sarek said it would be a good idea, right? Sarek's a beacon of logic. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Ending the war would save more lives than would be spent on destroying Kronos, right? That makes sense from a Vulcan perspective. That's not out of character, right? There's nothing in the Vulcan philosophies of Surak, the teachings of Surak, that says that valuing life is more logical. It was brought up in the original Mirror Mirror universe. The Mirror Mirror episode with Spock was that, cooperation and peace are better in the long term and therefore have more logical value. But ending the war with one blow that destroys the enemy after they've already decimated a third of your population, that is logical. And it would make sense for a Vulcan to feel that way. And one with as much pull as Sarek, obviously, right? So it's not that unusual for him to feel that way. And the Federation's values may not align with that. But that was the point too. The whole point of the first season, the big question that it asked, because that's people who are hating on Discovery, they always say, like, there's no philosophy to it, right? There is. The problem is you're used to the philosophy being contained within a single episode, because that's what Star Trek's done up to this point. Occasionally you'll have like a 2-episode arc, but really all of your philosophy is self-contained within Star Trek. It's teaching parables, right? Discovery wasn't doing that. It was a season-long story arc, and the philosophy was stretched across the season as well. And the real meat of Discovery, there were a bunch of individual little moral lessons. I listed them all out last year while the series was still going on. But the real meat of it is, does an organization deserve to survive if it's willing to sell out its soul to do so, right? It's something that Pike actually brought up season 2. I don't want to get any season 2 spoilers, because I know there are some people who wait for the season to end, and then once the season's over, they'll do the free trial of CBS All Access and binge the whole series. So I don't want to do any season 2 spoilers, but you probably already know Pike, Captain Christopher Pike. He's in Discovery season 2 due to an anomaly in space that has the Federation worried. Starfleet has him temporarily taking control of the Discovery while the Enterprise is undergoing a refit, right? That's not really spoiler territory. And Pike tells Admiral Cornwall the same, what I just said, basically. Like, you can't compromise the Federation's ideals to save the Federation, because then it's not the Federation anymore, right? That was the whole point of them even debating using that genocidal weapon. And Michael Burnham's character is the one who convinced them not to. That was the point of her character arc. Michael Burnham started off as a human who was raised as a Klingon, struggling with her humanity. Her first major action of the show is firing on the Klingons. Basically, she's attempting to embrace her Vulcan identity, right? She's acting as the Vulcans would, right? She uses the Vulcan neck pinch. She fires on the Klingons the same way the Vulcans did. That's her embracing her Vulcanity, right? But as the series progresses, that was a big mistake, right? A little minor point here. That was a major fuck up for her. And so if you say she's a Mary Sue, I seriously doubt you know what that means, because there is no way a Mary Sue character would fuck up on that scale, as sort of the anti-Mary Sue. No, she's someone who messed up. She's embracing her Vulcan identity, acting as a Vulcan did. It went wrong, right? One of the ideas behind the Federation is that, humans, we have conquest, and we have a pioneer spirit and everything in Star Trek. And Vulcans have cold logic and science. And the idea behind the Federation is that we need the human morality and emotion to be balanced with the Vulcan coldness and scientific acumen, right? Those things are supposed to work together. That's the whole idea of the Federation of Planets, is that those things work jointly, right? If it becomes a humans-only club, then we end up with people like Admiral Pressman, right? Who don't see the bigger picture of what it means to go against a treaty with the Romulans, right? Only seeing the advantage that we could have short term. And then if you go the other direction with just the Vulcans, well, the Vulcans found warp technology like 1,000 years ago, and without that pioneer spirit using cold logic, we were able to surpass them technologically within 100 years, right? It's about teamwork. It's about species working together. So Michael Burnham doesn't necessarily have to reject that Vulcan identity entirely. She just has to rediscover her humanity and balance it with that. And that's what's going on throughout the whole first season. And so at the end of the season, when Michael Burnham decides, hey, there's no way we're going to let this genocide go off, all right? We're not going to be the ones to kill a whole planet of people, even if they've taken many of ours, because that's not the Federation we're fighting for. And if that's how we win the war, then we've lost the war already, right? And that's Federation as shit. That is the ideal society of the future that we strive for. So that's part 2. I have some more things to say about Discovery, so there is going to be a part 3. I love you. Please subscribe if you like what you saw. And if you want others to see it and like it too, share it out. And if you want to see more videos, subscribe, because then you'll be informed of when I have new ones. Easy to subscribe. There's a subscribe button. There's also a little button shaped like a bell on YouTube. If you click that, you'll also get an email every time I put up a new video, and then you'll see it. Because sometimes I post them on YouTube, and then it's a day or two before they make it to Facebook. So you'll be up to date and current with all of my nonsense ramblings about Star Trek and whatever else I'm talking about this week. All right. You guys have a great day. I have to get to work. Bye.